Mr. Weiner.
Oh, I'm up. Great. Hi, my name's Sean Weiner. I spent about 25 plus years in the luxury home technology integration business. Recently left to pursue a career in consulting, which we'll see if that plans out or not. But for the time being, I'm working with luxury builders, homeowners, and some manufacturers in the space to try and further the mission of technology in the home. These two did a great job of talking about almost everything I mentioned in my slides here, so I'll try not to repeat myself or repeat them along the way. But it kind of goes without saying that comfort's important. I'm going to try and refer a little bit to technology in this space. I recently bought a 34-inch widescreen curved display to go along with my laptop to replace the two 19-inch displays that I had before. It's game-changing. It really is. So I think it's really important when you're talking about the desk and the workspaces that you have the appropriate equipment nearby. So big enough screens that you can actually see I've got old eyes. It's hard for me to see small print anymore. I work on plans a lot, on sets of drawings a lot. And having the real estate to look at the entire floor instead of a section of the floor at one time and have to pan back and forth is actually really useful. So depending on what your clients do, I would really pay attention to those screens and those monitors. Make sure that you've got good connectivity. So it should be as few connections as possible to get your laptop in and out of the space. If you want to pack it up and go, you don't want to be unplugging 13 things and finding your next charger and your other power supply. You don't want to be looking for USB ports and USB hubs. So make sure you've got everything you need in that space so you can plug in and go, and then you can pick up and leave when you need to. We talked about wireless repeaters or Wi-Fi extenders, whatever you like to call them. Not the best use of technology in the space. If it's an existing home, you don't have any other choices. Sometimes that's a good thing. But wireless access points themselves, especially if they're connected with a smart controller of some type, whether it's on or off premise, give you much higher speeds. So wireless speeds are faster than they've ever been. So a wired Ethernet connection is great for Zoom calls. It's much more reliable typically. But do the best you can with the Wi-Fi that you've got. It's not super expensive. You're not going to spend a lot more money.
And you want the
it.
Wi-Fi where the commercial grade, where there's handoffs based on signal strength, and people don't get hung up with a bad signal from vendors like Luxol and such, right?
Exactly. So it handles handoffs from location to location as you roam throughout the house if you've got a big piece of property. But it also makes sure that you've got multiple connected devices without packet collisions, so you don't have data loss and glitches in your Zoom
No
call.
packet collisions.
There you go. There you go. We're getting technical here. And then convenient locations are everything which you all touched on. Make sure you have access to your printers and your scanners and all your peripherals. Everyone has said something about lighting. The one thing we really haven't talked about when it comes to lighting is making sure that you're lighting for a lot of different reasons, right? So there's task lighting, which is lighting your desk surface. There's accent lighting, which is going to accent maybe the wall behind you for your Zoom background. It's going to accent the area behind your monitor. If any of you ever worked late at night and stared at your screen for a long period of time in a dark room, it's very fatiguing for your eyes not to have a backlit area behind that screen. So you want to make sure that you light the room properly so you don't have that level of fatigue. You mentioned sitting in front of a window or facing a window. Part of the reason people like doing that, aside from not wanting their backs to the door, is daylight is energizing, right? There's a reason it's energizing because there's a lot of blue light in that spectrum at noon, 1 o'clock. If you can replicate that with the lighting in your space, with a circadian rhythm lighting system or a human-centric lighting system or a biophilic lighting system, whatever term Crestron wants to use today, you can. Yeah, sorry.
It's
Savant,
all out
let's say
there, though.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a thing.
Whatever
You're
you want to
welcome.
call it, it all does the same thing, right? So effectively, it's going to bring that blue light in the spectrum. Your brain is not going to produce melatonin and hormones that make you sleepy. Keeps you more alert.
Yep.
If you remember the evil empire called Google, they did that first. Right? So they took their workspace and they amped it up to 5,000 or 6,000 Kelvin. I'm not sure which color temperatures they used to keep their employees more productive for longer. So they basically abused their team to make them work longer hours. But it's effective. That's why they did it. So I would recommend that you have the right kind of light in the room if you're trying to work.
Tales of torture from the tech world.
No, I didn't say they were
The evil
Nice guys.
empire.
Let's see, push that button. There we go. This is an under talked about, is that a word?
It is
element
now.
of the home office, yeah. So most of us have worked from home with a laptop camera that sits a little bit below us at our desk, and if the taller folks in the room will get this. If you ever looked at a Zoom call, you're looking up everybody's nose, right? At a weird angle. It's probably not the best scenario or solution for a home office. So these cameras can be mounted at a distance. I really do like putting them further away from the desk, so you actually see somebody sitting at a desk, almost like you're looking at us now instead of looking right at my gigantic head.
I was on a Zoom call with an author, and he had a multi-camera setup, and he was switching cameras. It was so cool. It made the presentation so much more fun because he was showing he was drawing something on a piece of paper, and you saw the overhead. I'm like, how cool is that?
Wow. It's very dynamic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is an awesome effect, and even having a wider angle so you can see more of the space and more of the room. And there are tracking cameras, so if you've got a collaborative space, whether it's a conference table or a large desk with multiple people at the table, instead of having multiple cameras set up, you have one camera that actually tracks the speaker. So it'll actually do that movement for you, so you're not trying to run a presentation while you're presenting a meeting at the same time.
I just think for your luxury clients, this goes back to getting the technology integrator or designer involved early in the consultation to start showing some of this stuff. People may be living with legacy displays that are crap, and they don't know there's 35-inch curved monitors. They don't know about these cameras, and you show them some stuff. Now you're really connecting with them, and you're really giving them something special, but you don't get there if it happens after the fact. Then it's a collection of crap on a desk somewhere.
Right. And I don't think I have a slide for the microphone, but it's equally as important, right? So the audio is probably more important in a lot of cases than the video is. So they're broadcast quality USB microphones. They look like a broadcast studio microphone. It's not the little tiny thing built in your laptop or the little tiny USB plug you can plug in. And it's legit. And if you ever talked to somebody on a conference that had one, it's eye-opening, or actually ear-opening, I guess. It's kind of shocking because it's crystal clear what you're hearing as opposed to that garbled sort of Zoom quality audio to go with it. Environmental controls you touched on. John, you sent me an email the other day, which I thought was really cool. It's something I hadn't seen before. But I have a friend who made a custom scent for himself, which is kind of bizarre. But these little scent emitters that actually make you feel like you're in a hotel lobby. If you ever walked into one of those hotels, it smells like whatever tropical fruit it is when you walk in the front door. It's an interesting idea for an office. It makes it comfortable. You're going to spend a large portion of your day in there. I think it might be an interesting idea. We've all touched on room acoustics already today, too. Two things to think about, especially since there's builders in this room. There's a lot of stuff that can go either in or on the walls. Because there's two goals in room acoustics. One is to make the room you're in sound better, which is what these panels do. The other one is to keep the noise out of the room and keep your noise in the room. So if you don't want your family to hear you on your Zoom calls, if you want to soundproof the room or sound reduce those, think about the walls, think about the insulation, think about the underlayment for the walls, think about the type of drywall you're using, how many layers of drywall you use, think about stagger steadying the room to make sure it keeps the noise down. Think about your windows and doors. If you don't have a seal around the door, all these acoustic treatments are kind of useless, right? Did you have a question?
No, you know a lot. I'm astounded.
No, sorry. Convenience, make sure you have everything you need nearby. It's kind of, if your office is the other end of the house from the kitchen and you want to go grab a drink, it's not really nice. So, things like wet bars and food storage and having a space to have social interaction and bigger conference tables. We all work from home by ourselves because we weren't allowed to see people for a while. That's changed a bit, so we might want to have teammates, team members, clients, collaborators in our space. So make sure you have a comfortable space to do that. Backgrounds, the Zoom background that you all use, the electronic one, everyone knows it's fake. So try and build a real one.
And it's not highly regarded because it's like that's fake.
Yeah, it is.
Come up with your own bling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice to consider what your background looks like. There are companies that manufacture actually roller backgrounds that look like motorized screens. You can actually lower behind your desk so if you want to partition the room. And then think about the integration. So I know that Joanne's going to talk about this a little bit, so I won't steal your thunder. But having an integrated system that's easy to use. If you do a lot of presentations, you don't want to set up your call every time. We're trying to figure out how to use Google for this one or Teams for that one. Having a fully integrated system can really make a big difference in the way your presentation runs, and having collaboration tools there too. So even like a shared whiteboard or some sort of tool where you're not just talking at people, you're actually interacting and having real conversations. And a good design professional can help you through that process. And then this is my favorite slide of this whole group, right? So I think we overlook what we use these rooms for. It doesn't have to be just an office. I did a client's space where this guy's got a pool table. This is a job we did a few years back, but they've got golf simulators in their office. So what if after that 3-hour marathon Zoom call, you get up and play a couple holes and sit back down again? It's it's a nice way to escape. It's a great way to use the room. And when it's nighttime and your kids are there and it's a sports simulator, they can kick soccer balls into it, or you can have your friends over. But think of all the other uses for that space instead of just making it a dedicated office. So why not make it a little bit bigger and make it useful and kind of a fun room in the house? I think that's all.
Good stuff.
Oh, wait, no.
More?
One more. I got one more.
Well, there's more. Well, wait, there's more.
Just think about where you're going to put stuff. That's probably the best solution to this problem. Wiring is really important. If the camera's not going to be built into your laptop, it's going to be further in the room. Make sure you've got wire. Floor outlets are always great for this. just prepare for where these things are going to go. If you're going to put speakers in the room, make sure that they're wired properly. If you're going to, put network devices, printers, and scanners, get a wire there because you're not going to be able to do it later. And make sure everything's interconnected. And put a glass wall to your garage. It's perfect.